Hello and good afternoon, Miss Princess.
Good morning for me. Good afternoon, you guys.
Oh, yeah, it's super early where you are. So, we're going to talk about how you went from North Carolina to LA.
Okay.
But I wanted to introduce you guys. First of all, my name is Dileesa, and this is Conversations with Dileesa. Thank you guys so much for watching. With me, I have Princess the BGV Jones, and I'm so excited to talk to her this afternoon because she is phenomenally gifted, and I am always, inspired by women, particularly Black women, who just really have an eye and an ear for how to really mesh their gifts with entrepreneurship. And so that is really what we're going to hone in on and just talk about your journey, your talent, and things that you have coming up.
Okay.
So I would like to first start with Princess the BGV. Like, what made you brand your name in that way?
Well, that is actually a story. Okay, so I was very much lost in the sauce at that point. I knew because I was already singing for my sister for years at that time, since we were kids, actually. But she was really the only person that was really giving me a chance. But I also did studio work for other people. But of course, I didn't know the business. I come from a very business oriented family. My dad, he's been in the business, so I should have known. But when you try to do stuff yourself, you're like, okay, I'll do it for free. So
I was gonna say that sounds like you were working for free.
I was working for free. I was doing a lot of stuff, just trying to get myself out there, but really not connecting with the right people. So I remember one day I was just like asking around on Facebook, like some of my friends, like, how do I like break into this? Like I knew they were doing it. And I remember me and Gabe Titus. I asked him because he's not a singer, but he's connected to a lot of people. He's a promoter. And he said, Precious, you got to brand yourself. Like you have to come up with, he didn't necessarily say a name, but come up with something that's going to make you stand out. He was like, you got everything, you got the talent. At this point, I had already moved from Aberdeen to Durham, North Carolina. So I was kind of in an area where it's a little bit more exposure to what I wanted to do, but I still wasn't completely in that pocket yet. So I sat in my room after having that conversation with him. He also connected me to Leslie Nilly. Leslie Nilly, she's a vet in the game. She's sung with Jonathan Nelson on Purpose. She's sung with a lot of people. And she talked to me, and she literally just sat me down, or not physically, but on the phone, sat me down and gave me advice like, this is what you do. This is how you maneuver. I'm going to introduce you to such and such and such and such. By this time, I also had Team BGV, so I'll get to that. But between those two people and just connecting with people through Team BGV, I branded myself. I came up with Princess the BGV sitting in my room one day. I was like, I don't know what else to call myself, but Princess the BGV sounds cool. Why not? I mean, they got BJ the Chicago Kid, like Princess the BGV. So I went with it, and it's just been stuck with me for about 7-8 years now.
Wow.
So that's how it came into play.
So I feel like you kind of touched on a few other things that I wanted to ask.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, Princess the BGV is brilliant. It's like the same thing with me. It was like, all right, what else am I going to call myself on IG other than Dileesa? I like my name. I think Dileesa works just fine. But
it's unique.
But then I was just like, oh, well, thank you. And then it was like, Dileesa vocal coach? I mean, but it works because everywhere that you comment, it says Dileesa vocal coach.
Right.
When you show up in somebody's live, they go, "Oh, Dileesa vocal coach is on the live." It's not Dileesa anymore, so it's great. It's your way of leaving a stamp everywhere you go.
Definitely, that's exactly what I was going to say. Leaving that mark, and people they never had to question what you do. Princess the BG, and then it gives the acronym BGV some recognition because now, when I walk around and I tell, because it's attached to all my Cash App, my Zelle, my everything that is known, emails. So they're like, what is BGV? So now I have to explain this is what it is to people that have never even known what it is. So I think that's pretty cool.
That's awesome. Did you know in England they call it BVs?
Really? My dad calls it that too.
Okay. Yeah, because when I talk to English people, and I say BGV, they're like, what is that?
My dad is always Princess the BV. I'm like,
the BV.
Whatever. Whatever, Dad. Let's go with it.
So I know you mentioned your sister, who I learned about your sister back in like 2013. You can confirm. I want to say it was 2013 because that's when I first came out with my first single. And that's how I learned about your dad, Arvitra Jones, who is like a legend in radio, gospel radio. And I don't know what else he does, but he seems to be a somebody for sure. I knew that.
It's pretty much an industry legend. Like
he's just done a lot of stuff.
He's done a lot. Everybody call him the bishop. Yeah, he just got his doctorate actually, and that was pretty much amazing in ministry. And he's definitely a Hall of Famer in the radio. You know, he's literally in the Hall of Fame in the radio industry. So I'm proud of him. He's the reason why, one of the reasons why I'm here today. So
yeah, so help me with that. So like I said, I heard about your father because, you know, somebody told me about your dad. Like, oh, you're gonna want to know Arvitra. Is it Arvitra or Arvitra?
Arvitra.
Arvitra.
But it's really Arvitra, but so many people call him Arvitra.
Okay, yeah. So Arvitra, you know, it's like, okay, you need to know about Arvitra. He has a daughter named Ruth, who's really like getting out there. And so that's how I knew about them. It wasn't probably 10 years, you know, maybe just maybe a year or two ago that you kind of came into my consciousness. And I was like, oh, wow, she's Arvitra's daughter too. Wait, well, that would mean, you know.
So what people don't know is prior to him managing my sister, he had another artist. Now he's managed and represented plenty. Now, well, I won't say managed, but he's represented plenty of artists because he still to this day has an agency. And they represent and they, you know, do branding and all of that for artists. Not disturbed. Did I lose you?
I'm here.
Okay, somebody called my phone. But prior to that, he was managing my cousin Shantae Henry Hills. She's also a gospel artist. And that was pretty much my childhood. Before my sister was even born, he was doing that. And also doing radio. So going into my sister's career, I think she was about 12 or 13, and she sat my dad down and was like, you know what, I'm ready to sing. I'm ready to go for it. And since then, he's been managing her career. My dad put me in radio when I was a kid. Like, I would do spots on his show. He's always kept us inside of what he was doing, whether it be his North Carolina Gospel Announcers Guild conventions. Those still go on. They have a convention coming up. I think it's June 12th of this year. It's June or July. I'm gonna get that date right before I get off here. But it's still an ongoing thing every single year. He's always had his kids. Like, we've always been involved. We're on the planning team now, and I actually have a class at this year's convention for BGVs. So
that's awesome.
Everything he's done, and you know, he's always just kept us involved, kept us educated, and you know, he wants us. He didn't necessarily tell us like, I want y'all to be in the music industry, but what choice do you have when you have a legend as a father that's in the gospel music industry? So I mean, we all are a part. My brother. We also have a brother. He's a rapper. He's a gospel rapper, but he's also a producer. He makes beats. And he sings with us as well. He's a background singer for my sister. So we all just kind of do our family thing. It's a family.
That's amazing. So have you ever had, I love that. You touched, there's so many questions I don't have to ask now.
You can still ask them. We can expound on everything.
Well, I guess my first question was, how did you get started in BGVs? But it sounded like you got started when your sister decided she wanted to be an artist. And so the other thing I was going to ask is how your sister being an artist and your father being, you know, a radio person. I'm sorry, like a radio announcer. He puts on his own conventions. How all of those kinds of things kind of influence how you operate as a BGV.
It really, I'll be honest here. This is a transparency moment. I had a lot to learn. And coming out the gate, I won't necessarily say I had it all figured out just because Dileesa Archer was my sister or just because Arvetta Jones was my father. I had a lot to learn because background singing is completely separate from being an artist or being a radio announcer. It's in a lane of its own. What I benefited from was exposure to certain people and having the doors open to build those relationships.
That's awesome. So who was your, and that's big. That's a big deal. Mm-hmm. So who was it? Is there a particular artist that you sang for, toured for, that you were like, okay, yeah, now I've kind of caught my rhythm?
I get that question all the time, and it's always going to be the same answer. It's always going to be whenever I got called for the Brandy tribute.
Oh, wow. Was this at the BMI?
At the BMIs.
Okay, that was here in Atlanta a couple years ago.
Right. When I got called in for that, like I had sung at that time, I had sung for several artists. In the studio, on the road, but it still was like, okay, I feel like I'm still getting the church experience. And if I can say that, like, that's just me being honest. I'm still getting, and when I say the church experience, I'm not like, there's no shade. It's not a bad thing. It's just that for what I saw for myself, I saw a different lane. And it was nothing. It was, like I said, it's no shade to, because I've been doing that my whole life. But I just saw a bigger opportunity, and that was it. And when I did that, I was like, okay, this is what I like. This is what I like.
Yeah.
I like having to have in ears. I like having the sound checks go boom boom boom. I love like just the energy of all the people running around on stage, getting stuff together. Like, I love working with other real professionals that are like just keen on this stuff, that like they've been doing it. I love being around that energy. And that was the pivotal moment and that opportunity for me. And then just to sing in front of Brandy, and she like, y'all are some real singers. Like, to hear that from the person that I've been listening to and cleaning over for all this time, that was like an amazing opportunity. And
the way that I wish I was in that room that night.
Oh God.
I just don't be knowing about stuff. And then I was like, what? That was because you sang with Jasmine Crumley, right?
Yes, it was Jasmine Crumley, Zaviel, and Chris. I think her name is Kristen. No, I don't want to get her name wrong.
Okay. So I don't know if I know the third one, but I definitely know and I've worked with Jasmine and Zavi in different capacities before. They're amazing.
All of them are beautiful. They're so amazing.
That's an awesome.
I'll say this. I actually was your student at her boot camp.
What?
First time I met you. Yeah, you came in at Jasmine's boot camp, and I traveled. Myself and Rashad at the time, we traveled maybe 4 weekends back and forth from Aberdeen to Atlanta just to go to the boot camp. Yep.
That's amazing. That's how,
like, when I tell people, like, when they ask me, like, how did you get started? I was hungry. Like, I did stuff to
you invested in yourself.
Yeah.
That was like 2017. That was about 2017.
Yeah, it was.
Because I had baby dreads. I remember. I always know what year it is based on how my locks look. So
yeah, they were not red on the thing at the time.
They were like the weirdest shade of purple, greenish, something going on. There's a lot going on. But that's awesome. Wow. So you invested in yourself, and that, I mean, it clearly paid off. And I think I've heard your voice, and your voice is stunning.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about, let me ask you this quick question. Have you ever thought about being an artist, or has this just been your lane? Like, you just fell in love with it?
I I think background vocals is my true passion and my true lane. Only because I love singing, I love blending, I love just being a part of the experience. It gives me what that was like that feeling. Like I can't even describe it. But being an artist, I've visualized it in my version of what I would consider my artistry. But I think the pressure of being an artist is what I don't want. Because I'm a different type of person. I like to just chill. And being an artist, you can't chill. You just gotta like be on it and be in the front and just I don't think that would fit my personality.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I've wrote songs for myself that I probably would never release, but I don't know. We'll see. It's been a request of many people, but I just and I'm shy to sing by myself. I hate singing by myself.
What?
Yeah, I hate it. Like I could do it, but I hate it. Which is why one of the reasons why I'm a background singer.
Oh my gosh. Okay. That's incredible. Because I always feel like the best background singers actually are just solo singers who prefer to be in the back. So now, your voice
I sing my butt off on a solo. Like I would say that. Like if I was an artist, I would be an amazing artist. But I just I ask the Lord. That's one of our prayers. I do ask God. I'm like, if you can release the fear, or not if you can release it. This is my job. If you could maybe like give me some type of push, because if there was a pivotal moment in my childhood, and I love young Lily, God bless her soul, but there was a moment when I did like singing solos. I was just scared, and I'm like really kind of like shy naturally. So I remember when I was a little girl, my grandma, she would always make me come sing in church, and I remember my auntie. I was looking at her and she was laughing. She was laughing, but it wasn't a bad thing. That was just her personality. And I remember seeing her, I was like, nope, I'm not singing ever again.
Won't be doing this again.
But I was just shy, and I think that kind of it's always like in the back of my mind, like, do they like what I'm doing, or am I doing enough runs? And for me to admit that, that's just me having a vulnerable moment. But people that know me, they know that. Like they know that I'm all in my head. So I it's a lot to understand.
And so because you're all in your head, it's easier for you to kind of just have a rubric of this is what I need you to do.
Yep, that's it. That's
period.
It.
And I feel like, I can do BGVs, but I don't want to say I'm a frustrated BGV, but having to stick to the rubric and be like, yo, but I thought of something that would be so dope right here. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Baby, let me tell you something. I tried out to be somebody's BGV, and like I got through several rounds, and so I felt I was at like the last round or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I sang a part or whatever, and the whole room, because you have to. Well, I don't know if you know, but sometimes you gotta when you're auditioning in front of all the people you're competing with, right? So it's like a room of 30 to 50 people. So when she puts me in the alto and I start doing something, and I did like an inflection, like, I did something like that. And the whole room is like, fine, Dileesa. The whole room's hyping me, right? Because I added like a little inflection that honestly was fire. It made the live fire. Baby, when we were done, she said, I don't need anybody adding anything, just sing the line. And baby, I like to add. So I'm like, oh, I like to add sauce. You know what I'm saying?
It's honestly like I feel that, because it's honestly hard not to sometimes, because those notes can be like, oh, I could do this, and it makes it so pretty. But that's just like I like to stay in the pocket, and you described it perfectly. That's the difference. That is the true difference. And I mean, I feel like, to each his own, but
it's like, tell me what to do. I got you.
Yeah, like I feel like all background singers are not artists, and all artists are not background singers. I feel like some of us are just what we are, and that's okay.
It really, I mean, it is. What is some advice that you would have for other BGVs? What are some mistakes that you see? I mean, I've seen things, and we're going to talk about Team BGV next. Team BGV,
Okay.
that's the sweater that you have on. And, you know, at first I just thought it was a Facebook group and there's like thousands of people in there.
Mm-hmm.
And then I realized it's actually a company you're contracting
Definitely.
these singers. And I would imagine that there's singers at every level that want to be contracted by Team BGV.
Mm-hmm.
And I would imagine if you are contracting people who have only done BGVs for, like you said, maybe church gigs or smaller things, there may be a learning curve that they may have to go through to really show up as a professional.
Mm-hmm.
So what are certain pitfalls that you see aspiring BGVs or beginning, you know, people who are beginning in the industry fall into?
Mostly they don't brand themselves, and that was the mistake that I was making. Like a lot of people, they always, you know, they're in there, like even in Team BGV, they're in there. They've been in there for years and years and years, but they're quiet as a mouse. Nobody ever sees them. You go to their Instagram or Facebook pages, and it's just pictures and memes. Nothing. I can't hear your voice. You have to like literally put yourself out there. Otherwise, nobody will ever know you. And you got to use your vehicles. There's so many vehicles out here. You got TikTok. You got reels, like just little snippets. You don't even have to do whole songs. Like back in the day when I was coming in, you had to do a whole 3-minute YouTube.
You sure did.
Video. I got, you know, most of my true fans came from my YouTube videos.
I love it.
Yeah, and then back then that was when I was just
I'm saying I love it because when I first got on YouTube, I was doing 10-12-minute lessons.
Right. You had to, like, because back then it was like how long can people stay on your thing, on your video?
Yeah.
Now it's like give them a 30-second.
Yeah.
Don't go over so many seconds because you know
people want to move on. Yeah.
They want to move on. So like you don't even really have to do too much. You just have to do it. Yeah. A lot of people just aren't doing it, and you can't say that you want something and not do what it takes. You have to do the process.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I will be honest and say there were a lot of people that never gave me the real deal. They would just give me cliche answers. I'm always open book. I'm inviting you if you have questions. You know, my name is Princess the BGV. Hit me up, ask. I will gladly help. But you just have to take the advice and actually do it.
Awesome. I love that you said that because that wasn't something it should be understood that if you want to be a BGV and you're on Facebook and you're on a group called Team BGV, that you should probably let people know how you sing.
Right.
If you want to get booked. Otherwise, you're just a face in our group. Like, really thanks for hanging out.
Because there's so many times when we have opportunities and the only audition is your page. So like if I go to your page and there's nothing there, then you just missed the audition. I move on. Like, and that's not just me, that's everybody. I'm pretty sure that's you too, because you're always looking for singers. Like who has time to scroll scroll. Like I need to see. And if you are already established, people already know you. I'm like, this is really for just like the newbies, but even established, like give us something sometimes. You know, remind people because there's always somebody looking. Always.
Yeah, you got to remind people who you are. So
Yeah.
The ego is a funny thing.
It is.
It holds us back, man. It can propel us forward or hold us back.
It's really tricky because there's a lot of like, oh, should I? Or I don't want to do too much. Mm-hmm. It's the ego thing, and it's also like, am I doing too much? Do people think I'm doing too much thing? Like, I feel like we just need to release that. Oh, what do if I post too much? If I post myself too much? If I post what I'm doing too much? Are people going to be offended because I'm, like we gotta release that. And I think that's a hold on a lot of people. Like, yeah, post your stuff. Post up.
Period. Or else how will we know? At least we know when something pops up, we're going to be like, you know what? She posting her stuff all the time. She wants somebody to book her.
Right.
She wants somebody to book her. So let's call her first.
Let's call her. Like, and that's why TikTok is so relevant right now, because they post up. You never, I mean, you see the same people, but you're going to watch it.
You're going to watch them. These people post 4 times a day, period.
Right.
Okay. So what do you think about, once people get into a gig, okay, so what do you think about the BGVs that, let's say there's a hired MD, but then there's a BGV who's looking and saying, they're not doing this right. So how?
The MD is saying that the BGV isn't doing
no, the opposite. So okay, so talk to me about what happens when a BGV just kind of has a lot of opinions about the way.
Okay, so I've been in that situation. To me, that's not my job. If my job, this is how I work. My job, unless I'm getting paid to go and give my opinion, my job is to go and kind of just do what I came to do. I've been around in rooms where, I think it should be done like this, or that isn't, but I'll use the word, I feel like it's unprofessional. I'll say it's unprofessional. Just go do what you got paid to do, because that person is doing their job. And if it's not to the artist's liking or whoever hired them to do that job, they will tell them that. That's just me though. If I answered that right, I feel like I understand.
No, I think that's great. I think sometimes, when we're in a room with our peers, sometimes we forget that this isn't really a group project.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, well, you're the MD, but I have degrees in music, and even though I'm just the BGV, I know how you can fix this.
Right.
The sound guy's not doing what he needs to do, because I do sound at my church, so they really need to blah 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 blah.
Right.
And why are y'all using these monitors when those monitors should probably be here?
Like, baby, if you wanted to be the project manager, just say that.
Exactly. So I think it's important. What I have learned from being around other BGVs, especially I talk about Jasmine Crumley all the time, is, when things aren't necessarily going the way you want them to, the way they should be going, sometimes when you're on set, it kind of calls you to be a little bit flexible, because all of a sudden we have to do something that we didn't plan on doing, or they're adding things that weren't previously there before you got there. And if they would have asked for it previously, you would have been prepared. But now I have learned that you just kind of have to, train your face.
Train your face. Yeah. Those situations are, they're frustrating. And we are at the end of the day with BGVs, we're doing a job, but we're also human. And it's okay to feel frustration. It's okay to feel anything in those moments. Anger, frustration. But like you said,
anxiety. But I think it's important for people to know that that's part of the job, because you're in a creative field, so things are subject to change.
Yeah, and as creatives, we are emotional beings. Like, we feel everything. That's how we create so well. So you're gonna feel those things, and in those moments, it is okay. I'll say this: it's okay to be honest with your MD and express how you feel in a private setting. Like, maybe, take them to the side and be like, this is not what we agreed to. If there's a contract in place, this is not in the contract. This is not what I signed up for. Is there, it's
any
okay
room for renegotiation if this is what you need from me?
Right. Like, it's okay to have honest conversations. It's the way to do everything. It's the way to say everything. I've learned how to give myself time these days, because I know me. I know I can pop off. I don't allow myself to pop off, first of all, because that's not what my creator would have me to do, or that's not what he would do. And I really I start my days off in that space with God, so I don't have to pop off anymore. And when I do, I take full accountability for it. But it has taught me, whenever I'm in those spaces and I'm in those rooms and those type of things happen, to just take a little time, and then whenever I feel like I can articulate my feelings in a professional way, then it's time for me to say something, because you don't have to accept everything. It's just because it comes along with the job. If it's not what you agree to, it's not what you feel comfortable with, you don't have to accept everything.
I love that. I think there's a certain power that BGVs need to have, because sometimes they do just kind of subject themselves to whatever is coming their way, and not saying, hey, well, this is my boundary, this is what I agreed to, and now this is something else. So let's have a conversation so that we're clear about what you asked me to do versus what's happening right now.
And those conversations, they tend to change things. Like, if you have them the right way, they change things. It's just like relationship. It's all relationship at the end of the day. You have to articulate your feelings or people won't know.
I love it. I love it. So let's talk now about Team BGV.
Yeah, my baby.
Yes. So when did you start Team BGV?
Team BGV was started back in 2016.
Okay.
I want to say it was October, but definitely 2016.
So did you start Team BGV by yourself? Because I know you have a partner who is the phenomenal Isa. Her name is Isa.
Yes, that's my boo. That's my sister, my partner. But Team BGV originally started with Rashad Covington.
Okay.
Back in 2016, I was on Facebook. This is after I formed Princess the BGV and all of that stuff. So people kind of knew me and they knew what I was about. So I remember seeing a Facebook post. My cousin Tawana, she made a Facebook post, and she's a background vocalist out of Fayetteville, an amazing soprano. And she was frustrated, had done a gig, was still waiting on money, I think. It was something to that effect. And at that time, I remember leaving a comment. I was like just going off, and I was like, hashtag BGV Lives Matter. And that was our slogan at the time, and it still is. It's one of our logos too. But I was like, in that moment, I was like, oh, you know what? I should start a group for us just to release these frustrations and give each other advice and stuff. So I remember calling Rashad. I was like, yo, I got this idea, and this is how I am. Like, I have ideas. They just pop up in my head all the time. And I'm ready to just to go and make it happen. So I called, I was like, yeah, I feel like we should make a Facebook group. I was like, for BGVs. He was like, okay. So he started inviting people. I remember, it happened so fast. I remember he started inviting, because he's my sister's best friend. So he's well connected. He can sing really. He's an amazing singer as well. So he knew a lot of people. He started inviting people like Shanice Johnson and Daryl Walls and all these type of people. And they started posting in the group. I was like, oh wow, this is actually happening. It went from 50 members to 100 to 3 to 5 to 6. I was like, oh wow. And everybody was posting every day, and it was just, I remember Jasmine Crumley and Isa and Jasmine Henson. It was so many of them. All of them were my admins at one time. We had a huge admin team. It was a lot. It was so many people. I can't even. I don't want to start naming names because I'm gonna leave so many people out. But it was some big, huge, background singers that I've been looking up to for years. Others have been looking up to for years, and we were all in the same space. I was like, yo, this is the coolest thing ever. And it just went on and on and on. So I think me and Isa came to myself and Rashad. She was already part of the group, very active, and giving advice. That was kind of her role. As she was a mentor at first. People looked up to her because, of course, she's Isa, but she was giving an amazing advice.
So let's for those who are watching who have no clue who Isa is. When you say, of course, she's Isa, so people will look up to her. Okay. give a quick.
Isa. That's her stage name. Her name is Isa. She's an amazing singer at Chicago, artist. She's the CEO of the Eating Artist Agency. So she does have her own agency, and it's a mentorship program as well. for singers and creatives. She's an amazing writer. She's wrote hits for Tyrese. If y'all ever heard of Stay, you know that
Yes.
was, you know that. So, she's done some amazing things, and I'm lucky to have her in my life. Period. So,
That's awesome. Okay, so Isa was the mentor. She started off as a mentor in the group.
She started off in that capacity, in not labeled as a mentor of TBG, but that was just what she was doing already.
Yeah.
And she also was doing I think at the time it was with the Eating Artists Agency, but it was called the BGV Summit. It was, I don't want to get the name wrong. That might have been the name of it, BGV Summit. And she contacted myself and Rashad. She was like, you know what? I think that we should partner on this. Like, it's for BGVs. Y'all have space for BGVs. You know, I could offer your members a discount, and I can also tell people in order to register, you have to join this group. At that time, we had about maybe 2,000 members. Also 2,000 members. We created that partnership for that event, and before you know, our membership skyrocketed to like maybe 5,000.
Oh my!
In a few days, because
people
they were registering for the summit. And when we saw that, and she's such an amazing person, like our hearts just connected.
She's great at marketing.
Yes, she is. Really good. Like all the flyers and stuff, I think she did herself.
She really understands. I can tell by the way that she crafts her posts that she really understands Facebook.
And then she also invested in herself. She's like really educated in that stuff. Like she takes classes and all that stuff. So
I could totally see it, because I'd be like, the way she crafts stuff. Like I have a business coach who's like all the way into social media too.
She's a nerd.
And I'm like,
really
she did exactly what my coach just told me last week that I needed to start doing. So I'm like, okay, Isa, I see you. You staying up all game.
Which makes it a great partnership, because I don't do any of that stuff. And I tell her, I'm like, girl, you got it. Because I don't do it. I don't do all the digital, but she's amazing at it, and she loves it.
Yeah, she is.
But after that partnership for that event, we just continued to talk partnership, and it was like, let's make this a real thing. Like, let's make it a real partnership. So that's when that connected, and of course Rashad, he went on to do other things, but me and Isa, we kind of stuck together and made it happen. I would say about 2018, 2019. I think that's when all of that started. Well, 2018 is when we connected with her, and then 2019 is when we started talking about, like, let's make this a real business, because we're already doing events, we're doing classes. I remember when the pandemic first started in 2020. So many BGVs that lost their jobs because nobody was touring anymore. So we created this fund, and we raised over $5,000, and we dispersed it to different background vocalists in our community. They had to go through an application process, but we dispersed that money, and we've helped many others in our community. Offered classes. We've just done a lot, and it's so many other great things building. We've just contracted for Delaney Land.
Yes.
Did that contract. They had that contract for a while, and it was just so many things, that blossomed from just me and her having the same heart. Our hearts are for people.
I love it.
And that's why things work. That's why it works. This is really like a beautiful relationship that we have, and I can't wait to see. I see where it is, where it's going already. But
my gosh, it's like every time I look at the follower count, I'm like, whoa!
It's just getting started. It's literally just getting started.
That's amazing. You guys, much success on that. I wish you guys all the best, and who knows what God, has in store, because God dreams even bigger than we do.
Oh my God.
What I'm saying?
I can't even fathom. At this point, it's been so many great things, but I literally can't even fathom like what's to come, what's already in the works. I'm just ready for it all. I know she is too. And Team BGV, we have a lot of like it's so many avenues. We have the classes, we have the merch, as you can see. Got this logo. We have a few other logos, and all of that is.
I like the one that said soprano, alto, tenor. Just put me in, coach, or something like that.
Back out. Those they flew off the shelf. I ran out of those really fast. But yeah, I ran out of those, so I'm bringing those back for our spring.
Child, people love saying they can sing all parts, honey.
They do. I'm gonna specify it. This time I'm specifying. I'm gonna let people rock there. Like you know you're alto.
No, sis, I know. You can fake a couple things, but
I'm gonna get the altos and the tenors straight, the basses, like, because everybody they can't sing soprano, so I'm team soprano. Are you a soprano?
Yeah, no.
See, alto.
Yeah, for sure. I am I'm classically trained, right? So
okay.
the soprano comes if you are asking for like anything classically, then my voice is just gonna like blossom. Yeah, all the way up high. But for anything R&B or whatever, baby, I mean, you can put me in tenor, I'd be happy.
I love singing tenor.
I feel like people, from what I was told, people don't like putting me in tenor because they're like, your voice, I think I sound great in tenor, personally.
Yes.
But I think it depends on the weight of the other voices.
It does. It has to balance.
So it depends on the weight of the other voices. Sometimes I think my voice is a little bit light for whoever might be singing alto. If you have an alto that's like, then yeah. So yes, basically I'm an alto.
The whole time, I thought I was singing soprano for the Brandy tribute. I mastered the soprano parts. Literally, Jasmine, she hit me up the night before. She was like, you sing a tenor, right? I was like, oh, okay. So I actually learned the tenor part on my drive to Atlanta.
But I used to sing soprano. Like when I was younger, my first BGV gig, I was like 16, and it was like my friend asked me the night before, like, hey, there's a lady that has to sing at church tomorrow. They have a soprano, but she's basically whispering. So can you
not the whispering willow?
So he was like, can you learn these 5 songs by tomorrow? And I was like, what? So yeah, they had me struggling in soprano, and I begged to sing alto.
Listen, the alto, I love sitting in that alto because it's the melody root. Like, the altos, they're gonna give you the root.
So warm.
But the soprano notes, they're so pretty. I just love singing soprano.
Yeah. And there's like I think of that CeCe Winans song, "Sweeter Than Springtime, Pure." Mm-hmm. So Benita on that soprano in that song.
Oh yeah.
Do you know exactly what I'm talking about? Like the exact, like she does it live.
Do it.
Oh God. Sweeter than springtime. First of all, I suck singing after I've talked because my speaking mechanism is trash. My singing mechanism is great. So like if I'm like and then I try to sing, it's like, oh no, hold on, give me a second.
We don't laugh. I think I know what part you're talking about though.
Sweeter than springtime, pure than sunshine, ever my soul will be. Like, it's so good.
And then the way, like, it's like certain
notes. Oh, pure than sunshine. Sorry, that's it.
Girl, keep it going. I'm here for it.
Yeah, something like that. I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm jacking this song right now. But that, it's just so pretty because there's just something. It just feels so ethereal.
I love the light soprano notes, like the airy. Like I always used to have to belt. Gospel belt. But I just love like right now I sing with the Sunday Service Collective, and we were doing like these operatic, very operatic songs. And that blessed my life. It reminded me a lot of my chorus days, honestly. Mm-hmm. And it brought me back. It's challenging because I haven't sung from that place. And you being the vocal coach, it's a different place when you're singing those operatic notes and then when you're belting. So it was something I actually had to get used to again. Like I hadn't used that part in a long time. It was a little raspy, but I like staying with it, it strengthened it. So now I found even in my belts, I'm able to belt healthier, if that makes sense. It's like,
okay, so I'm about to get interrupted.
Okay. Ah!
Oh.
It's so cute.
Okay. 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 I love you too. Okay.
He's like, look, Mom, you've been gone long enough. It's time to go.
I need to wrap it up. Okay. I'm new to this whole dog experience.
Ah!
So I'm just like, okay. All right, Luna, you got to get down.
She's pretty.
Luna, please.
Oh. That is funny. She's so beautiful. I love dogs. I'm a dog person.
Are you? Whew.
Yeah, I always grew up with dogs. That's my favorite. Dogs and cats are my favorite animals.
Yeah, see, I didn't. This was for my kids, and somehow she became my dog. I should have known. So I should have known this was going to happen. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk to you about is your other things coming up. So BGV Black. Explain what that is.
BGV Black, I'm expanding. I've always seen myself in the fashion industry.
Yeah.
That is just me. Like, my auntie, my Aunt S, and my mom, my aunt, she passed away a few months ago, back in October. And I just know at that time I felt a pull, like, okay, I haven't quite mastered where I want to be in singing. I'm there. But at the same time, I want to dive into what I've always wanted to do in fashion. I remember her cutting up my pants. She was like a black hippie, but a real cool, fashionable one back in the day when I was a kid. And I remember her just cutting up my clothes and making like my shirts like had, the little, how people wear their clothes now. She would cut up my jeans and put holes in them. Holes in my jeans, and I dressed like no other kid. Like my mom, she made me and my brother's clothes. So I've always had like a different fashion sense than most kids, because I didn't wear the type of clothes everybody wore. Going in stores now, I hate shopping because I never could find anything I like. So I was like, you know what? I remember one time I was in Atlanta. They said something about wear something black and flowy. I didn't bring anything black and flowy. So I was like, look, it's Atlanta. Let me go try to find something black and flowy. All I found in Atlanta was club attire. I couldn't find anything black and flowy to save my life. And in that moment, I was so frustrated. I was like, if I had my own store for background singers, this would not happen. Like, I'll just have our own, like, just like the group, have our own fashion and
BGV Black.
So I was like, BGV Black. That's what we're gonna go with. And I told I said, and it's crazy because she had the same vision. We had not talked about it. That's how I know our partnership was just God made, because we always have the same visions for things without talking about it. And then I'll say something or she'll say something. She's like, girl, stop. Because I literally had.
That's amazing.
So it is formed. I bought the domain. It's actually an actual website right now. It's just a Shopify website. We're getting the website actually made. And we're launching really soon. I don't want to give you guys a date yet because I don't have one.
Yeah.
But we'll be launching. Look out for the launch date. BGV Black. We're going to do it big and have a fashion show. I can't tell you guys the vision because I don't want nobody to steal my idea.
Period.
But it's still BGV Black because it's mine. I already bought it. So
exactly.
BGV Black is on a pop, and it's going to have stage wear. It's going to have sound check wear. It's going to have tour wear. It's going to have lounge wear. Whatever BGVs like to wear, it's going to have that. So
it's going to be comfortable, classy, frilly, everything in between.
For any event.
Sparkly, chiffon. I love it. All of it.
Yes.
I love it. I love it.
And I'm looking forward to partnering with, designers. So if you are a designer, you want to partner with Team BGV, hit me up. Let's talk about it.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I want to say thank you so much for this interview and having this conversation with me on Conversations with Dileesa. I wish you, Isa, everybody and their mama, all the absolute best. Oh my gosh, I cannot wait to see what the next 6 months and what the next year and 5 years brings for you, Team BGV, BGV Black, Princess the BGV, and whatever else the Lord just drops in your heart and makes you just kind of run with it. So I hope you have an amazing day.
Thank you. And I'm looking forward to seeing where God takes you, your new show. This is amazing. I thank you for the invite. I'm honored and privileged. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.